Hey there friends, my name is Mark Reyes from the CTC Academic Studio and welcome to this short video tutorial on the quadratic formula. This short tutorial will walk you through the quadratic formula, what it is, how to do it, as well as some example problems to help you practice. So what is the quadratic formula? It's a very powerful tool that can be used to solve any quadratic equation, that is, equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. It's a bit tricky to remember and requires more computation than other techniques. Let's take a look at the standard quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. The quadratic formula tells us that x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So where does the quadratic formula come from? Well, it comes from completing the square. If you're unfamiliar with completing the square, please check out my video on that topic so you can learn. Let's complete the square using the standard quadratic equation. Our first step is to subtract c to the other side. Then we factor in a from the left-hand side of the equation. In parentheses, this leaves us with x squared plus b over ax. Then we have to divide a. Notice that the right-hand side of the equation has become negative c over a. Now we have to complete the square. We take the middle term, b over a, and divide it by 2. Then we square the entire thing. This is the specific quantity that we will add to both sides of the equation. The left-hand side of the equation factors cleanly and automatically into x plus b over 2a all squared. Meanwhile, I've gone ahead and squared the specific quantity on the right-hand side to get b squared over 4a squared. Before we do anything else, I would like to combine the fractions by getting a common denominator. I have achieved this by multiplying negative c over a by 4a on both the top and the bottom. My result is negative 4ac all over 4a squared. Now we can combine the fractions to get b squared minus 4ac on top and 4a squared on the bottom. Now we have to take the square root of both sides. Remember, since we've taken the square root of an equation, we have to put in a plus or minus symbol in front. Notice that the denominator of this fraction, 4a squared, is a perfect square. Thus, its square root becomes 2a. To get x by itself, we simply subtract b over 2a. However, note that both of these fractions have the same denominator 2a, so we can actually combine this all into one giant fraction. This is where the quadratic formula comes from. After we've combined these two fractions into one giant fraction, we see the quadratic formula as we normally see it. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's take a look at a simple example. 2x squared plus 17x plus 21 equals 0. Here a equals 2, b equals 17, and c equals 21. We take our quadratic formula and simply substitute all the a, b, and c values. 17 squared is 289, 4 times 2 times 21 is 168, and 2 times 2 is 4. 289 minus 168 is 121. Thankfully, 121 is a perfect square, so its square root is 11. So our first solution is negative 17 plus 11 all over 4, which simplifies into negative 3/2. And our second solution is negative 17 minus 11 all over 4, which simplifies into negative 7. So our two solutions are x equals minus 3/2 and x equals negative 7. Let's do another example. X squared plus 7x minus 3 equals 0. Here a equals 1, b equals 7, and c equals negative 3. We take our quadratic formula and simply substitute all the a, b, and c values. 7 squared is 49, 4 times 1 times negative 3 will get us a positive 12, and 2 times 1 is 2. So we get x equals -7 plus or minus square root of 61 all over 2. Now this is a small problem because 61 is not a perfect square. This is an irrational answer, which means we can't write it in simpler terms. So our two solutions, well, they're just x equals -7 plus square root 61 all over 2, and x equals -7 minus square root 61 all over 2. We can't write it in simpler terms, so we leave it like that. However, you can get a decimal approximation if you have a calculator, and I've put those up on the screen if you're curious. Let's take a look at x squared plus 4x plus 9 equals 0. Here a equals 1, b equals 4, and c equals 9. We take our regular quadratic formula and simply substitute all the a, b, and c values. 4 squared is 16, 4 times 1 times 9 is 36, and 2 times 1 is 2. We end up with -4 plus or minus square root of -20 all over 2. This is a small problem because we are trying to take the square root of a negative number which is not allowed. Whenever you take the square root of a negative number when using the quadratic formula, that indicates that the original quadratic has non-real or imaginary solutions. So in conclusion, the quadratic formula is a very powerful tool that tells us a lot about a quadratic equation and its roots. It's tricky to remember and requires some practice. Also, be on the lookout for non-real or imaginary solutions. On the next few slides are some practice problems. I recommend that you pause the video, try them out on your own, and see if you get the correct answer. Thanks for watching and have a good day.